Okay, Mama, we want to join with them too.
We want to say hi. Blair, your babies are showing.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to restart recording now. Oh, we've got some people already coming to join us. Isn't that lovely? Admit all. Okay, so let's get started. Can you see me all right? Do I look gorgeous? Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. Here we got Suzanne joining us. Yay! And who else we got? Jani joining us as well. Lovely to see you. You guys are on mute, I think. Yes, and your videos are muted as well.
They're probably still in the pajamas.
That's fine. Anyway, so this is not a place for everybody necessarily to be jumping in, although you feel free to put any comments in the chats if you want to. So basically, let's get started. My name is Finn Wycherley. This is the She Means Business Scotland Roadshow live online. So this was originally a whole series of events that was going to be taking place, organized by Facebook and Enterprise Nation, to go around Scotland and help women to understand how magical it is to set up your own business and to develop your own business. And part of that project is to bring in lots and lots of fantastic, incredible role models who are doing some amazing stuff with their business. It doesn't necessarily have to be business, it could be charities, it could be social enterprises, but women who are basically already going out there and kicking butt. Award-winning women. We've got women who are earning already 6 or 7 figure businesses as well. And then we've got some startups who are already super powering their way through the hemisphere. So as women, it's really, really difficult to navigate your way in the online world or in the business world because of that sense of imposter syndrome, or you know, that doubt and fear and anxiety that you can often get when you're in business. But that's why She Means Business Scotland was set up. She Means Business Scotland is all about women in Scotland getting together and helping ourselves get through the nonsense of life and help us to push each other forward. Because I'm a mad fan of, you know, you are the average of the 5 or 6 people that you surround yourself with. So even if your local friends and family might be a bunch of numpty shite bags, at least you can hang out with people online who are going to lift you up and give you a kick up the arse when necessary, because you're like full of doubt and insecurity and stuff like that. So that's what She Means Business Scotland is all about. Today on today's show, we've got the fabulous award-winning Sheila Hogan, who's going to be talking all about end-of-life planning. She's had an incredible journey herself. We're going to hear all about it. And although it sounds like a bit of a doom and gloom type of scenario, the reality is, you know, everybody has to start thinking about, you know, every possibility, every eventuality that happens in life. You know, when I talk about what's going to be happening in the next couple of months with the economy, with the industry, with the sector, with business and everything like that, people are like, well, you're a bit pessimistic. And I'm like, no, the reality is you have to plan for the worst and then you can hope for the best. Because if you keep on if your only strategy is hope in marketing, that's an absolute whack, whack, oops. So we're going to be touching some core issues today with Sheila. And then we've got the amazing Jo Lochhead, who's been building an incredible business in the craft industry. She's pretty much almost entirely online now, like many businesses are having to be. And she's going to be talking about building a soulful company that puts giving at the heart. So, I mean, this is a topic which is very dear to my heart, because a lot of people are particularly vexed about how to make sure that they are selling in the right way during the crisis. Because a lot of people are expecting you to actually keep trading in business, but do it for free or something like that. But the reality is, the only way for everybody to get through this economy is to keep on spending. This is the only reason why, you know, people have been given like 80% of their salary and 80% of their self-employment business based on profits and things like that, and why there's been a massive input of 750 million been put into the charity sector. because basically if we allow the businesses to stop trading, if we allow people to stop spending because they've got no income anymore, then that is guaranteed the end of the economy. That's the end of the capitalist system as we know it. So the reality is, as businesses, as small business owners, we have to keep encouraging people to spend as much as possible. So that's our mission in life generally as business owners, but particularly right now, we are literally saving the nation by making people spend more money right now. And speaking of finances, our third guest today is the lovely Rachel Stewart, who is recently started up her business after a long history in law, and she's going to be talking about if you're reassessing what is important right now. She's going to help you to understand how to create a long-term financial plan. This is something everybody needs. I don't know if anybody's like me, but I always consider myself to be, you know, a marketing and business whiz kid, and that's because I can also say that without a shadow of doubt, I'm a financial Luddite as well. So I've got a message here from Sandra. She says she doesn't have any audio. We'll all log out and try again. That's fine, Sandra. Just try your best to come in. There's been all kinds of problems trying to get logged in today. So the good thing is that we can see Suzanne eating her lunch there. Hiya. But everybody's on mute except for our guests today. And otherwise, you can feel free to ask any questions in the chat. You can see if you scroll down to the bottom of your screen, there's a little kind of chat icon. If you click in there, you can ask some questions and ask anything of our guests today during the interviews, so that we can make sure we get really in depth and ask all the tricky questions of them as well. So we can put them on the spot. No, we're not that kind of, we're not that kind of show. We're all about helping people to be inspired by, you know, the journey that you business women have been on, and how tough it's been, or even how easy it's been, you know, because at the end of the day, I feel like nowadays, you know, this is a new era just about to arise. You know, this is the post-corona era will be a brand new dawn of something fascinating. So I'm really interested to hear what you guys have got to say about how you're surviving this particular series right now. All right, so let's get cracking. So let's bring in our first guest, Ms. Sheila Hogan. Hey, Sheila.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Finn.
All right, so what's the story then? How come you're such an award-winning type of person? What's your business?
Oh, wow. So my current business, because I'm now on my fourth, so my current business is biscuit tin planning. And it's a digital secure vault to hold all your accounts, important documents, post-life wishes and memories all in one place, securely online, that you then that are then released to those you nominate when you die. It's born from my personal experience of losing my parents and having to close down their lives, and realizing what how broken that whole life close down process is, basically, and how it's also admin kind of intensive, and you've got to investigate to find out. So because, you know, what it taught me was every single life thread that we create in our lives, when you die, they have to be tied up and closed down in some way. And half of the stuff that you create in your life, nobody can find, you know, especially if it's more and more digital that we're doing these days.
Yeah, so tell me about the kind of things that you need to be closing down. And is it any different from what used to happen like 20, 30 years ago?
Well, I mean, the biscuit tin concept was born from the fact that I had a biscuit tin full of old papers and photos and bits of paper with notes on, to be fair. But I didn't know whether I had it all. Things kept coming out of the woodwork, and although when my dad actually passed, it was a relatively simple life he was leading because he was in sheltered housing. We didn't even have a house to sell. it took me 2 years to actually close down his life, because things just kept coming out of the woodwork, and all these things that I had to do, and the decisions that I had to take because he hadn't taken them in advance. So that's what I had with my dad. But what it got me to thinking was how complex my life to close down would be, having 2 businesses that are live at the moment that my family are not part of, having lots and lots of digital stuff again that they wouldn't have access to. We all see kind of posts, anniversaries coming up on LinkedIn, for example, of people who have actually passed away, who are kind of like critically ill and not kind of working anymore. So there's all those scenarios that make it much more complex, and plus the blended family scenario, with lots of potential for fallouts and disagreements. If we don't actually take those decisions for ourselves, we just leave it open to those situations.
So how does it work then? I mean, do people like scan all their documents into this particular space, or how's the actual physical technicalities operate then? Yeah,
so it's you basically register to create your biscuit tin, and then it's a bit of a guided journey, because there's kind of like, what we do is it's quite intuitive. We've got lots of different sections. So obviously accounts is a big one, because there's lots of different accounts that we create in our lives, from financial to insurance policies to digital accounts, your social media, your PayPal, Amazon, all of those kind of stuff, but also utilities, and all that kind of stuff, your car, things like that. So there's an account section, and it kind of guides you through everything that you might need to think about. You've then got a document section, which you can upload, like you say, PDFs, like your will, like policy documentation, certificates, your passport, your driving license, anything like that that's actually a physical kind of document, you can upload into there. And then also your actual wishes. So there's a whole section on wishes and different types of wishes, what you want to happen about your funeral, what you want to happen with your belongings, what you want to happen, even guardianship, things like that. If you've got, excuse me, children, pets, those kind of things, even plants, for example, what's going to happen with all this stuff. And if you don't decide, then those who are left behind have to do it for you. And then there's also a big section on memories, which is the one I really love, because we'll guide you through things that, if I had that lot document, it's somewhere that I could just go back and look at, from my parents. I mean, obviously I've got my own memories, but if I knew, for example, what my dad's favorite childhood memory was, for example, what his favorite holiday was, or even what his favorite color was, because I mean, and favorite film and favorite book, and and a recipe, or all of this stuff, all about memories, and so you can actually leave a legacy for other people to enjoy going forward.
Wow, that's amazing. I think in our family, the only thing that people fight about at the moment is who gets to own all the big treasure trove of photographs through the generations. That's the one that everybody's like, no, she's got it, no, he's got it, no, I'm supposed to have it because I'm the eldest, and all that stuff. Yeah, and there's lots of argy-bargy to do with not just the financial bits, but as you say, the memories part of it, and who owns all of that stuff.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, most people think, I mean, do you know what? A lot of the population don't even have a will anyway. 54% of the population don't have a will, which actually leaves that percent of the population intestate when they die. But even if you've got a will, it's still, right? My dad had a very simple will, and I'm an only child, so it's quite simple, to be fair, in terms of the legalities. However, there was just so many decisions that I had to make. And when I tell this story, I mean, the emotional bit for me was the worst decision I've ever had to make was, what is my dad going to wear in his coffin? And I spent 3 days torturing myself, going through his wardrobe to kind of think, what would he want to wear? Did he want to look?
That's a huge decision. Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
going to dress him in the Hawaii shirt for his best holiday? Or is he going to be wearing his jammies? Or is he going to be wearing his tin flute? What?
Yeah, well, did he want to look smart? My kind of like quandary was, did he want to look smart in a jacket or his suit or whatever, or did he want to go in his comfies, his cardi and his t-shirt kind of stuff, you know? And he would have said to me, right, I could hear him saying, I don't give a bugger what I wear, love, right? That's what he would have said to me. Just put me in out, right? He would have said, he was saying that to me, to be fair. But I tortured myself for 3 days, right, on that. And I still, even afterwards, once I'd kind of got this stuff out, I still was like, did I do the right thing? Was that the right thing to do?
Right.
It's crazy.
So what do you recommend in terms of people being able to have those conversations, you know? Because I mean, you know, there's lots of stuff on telly at the moment with people worried about their loved ones, you know, passing on, and how to have that conversation about planning for end of life. You know, it's such a sensitive topic, but it can be so useful to actually, you know, get that conversation started today.
Yeah. So I think my theme for this, there were a few themes for me when I kind of came up with the idea on Biscuit Tin, was that it had to remove the taboo from this stuff. It had to allow us to do this stuff for ourselves without having to talk to anyone about it, right? Because, you know, there's a different level of complexity and difficulty to, one, think about this for ourselves, but to then, two, talk to anyone else about it. So for me, one of the key things was you had to be able to do this yourself, right? And with a guided way to how to think about these things. Once you've actually had time to kind of get your head around it yourself and all this stuff that you need to think about, then's the time to maybe talk about it with others. But if you don't want to talk about it with anyone, because my dad wouldn't talk about it, there's a lot of men who put their head in the sand about it, won't even contemplate the thought of, you know, of not being here. And that's one of the big problems, right? And my dad wouldn't have talked about it, even if we tried to talk about it. So for me, this was about being able to do it in the comfort of your own home. You do it online, you make all your decisions for yourselves, and then you nominate who you want to get access to that information, right? But you don't get access to that information until you actually die, unless you wanted to talk to them about it, right?
Okay.
So it's all there. You've made all the decisions, but, you know, if you want to, it can be just sit there until you actually die.
That's interesting though. So I mean, I'm just thinking about my mum for still. She's actually loving it this particular period at the moment. She's like, never had so many people calling me up. It's crazy. And she just loves all that peace and quiet that's going on in the world. So she's absolutely delighted. She wishes it could stay on like this forever, except for the online shopping. She doesn't like that. But what was I going to say? She has a real phobia about online. Anything to do with online, she is not interested. You think I haven't tried to get her on Facebook? Oh my God, no. Finally, little Blair, the 24-year-old, he's managed to get her on the WhatsApp group, which has got all her kind of children and then her grandchildren on it. That's as far as she's managed to go in terms of digital. So, you know, that generation are really, really, really terrified of digital. How do you overcome those kind of fears and anxieties?
Yeah, well, there's two markets really. I mean, the whole Biscuit Tin concept is geared to the digital savvy population. And, you know, so we've got two kind of real target markets. We've got the kind of what we've called the retirees, which are kind of like the over 55s, who really should be thinking about this for themselves and getting things, you know, stored, making all these decisions. And then we've got what we've called the successors, who it's in the best interest of those people. And those are the 35 to 55 kind of like age group. So those are the people who it's in their best interest for any kind of parents or older relatives that they've got to actually do this and to kind of encourage them to do it. But no, you're right, there is a barrier there with particular age groups. It's getting better, but yeah, maybe kind of like the over 70s are the ones who might not actually do this for themselves and would need some great encouragement. So we suggest that people sit down with the online system and just, because it is a bit of a guided journey as to kind of all the things you've got to think about.
But tell us, Sheila, though, I mean, you weren't always this super powerful and wonderful and amazing and inspirational.
As if.
How did you get started off on this journey?
Oh, wow. Well, I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial kind of like little thing in my DNA, I think. I used to make, I got a sewing machine for Christmas when I was 9, and used to make furry pencil cases for my mates at school and sell them all around the school. So that was my kind of first thing at entrepreneurial stuff. And then I went through all the kind of like, always looking for something else, party plan, you name it, I've done it. To that kind of thing, to then moving to Scotland when I was 30, it's 25 years ago now, my goodness me. So yeah, I moved to Scotland, which actually kind of like pushed me out of a comfort zone to start with. It started me kind of like, I had to do quite a bit of business travel, and I remember having that business imposter syndrome, sat in Heathrow Airport one day thinking, they're going to come and find me out soon. Well, they're going to say, what are you doing here? Bloody Sheila Organ from Bradford lass, what are you doing here? Right? Get out, kind of thing. So, but that kind of pushed me into once, and I were managing a kind of group of contractors in IT. And one of them actually inspired me to actually go contracting myself. And I kind of like then made the transition from, being employed to being self-employed. And then doing that for a few years gave me another, more confidence to actually start. We started a kind of small business back in '97. Me and my husband, it was a handyman services business. We charged by the hour. It was quite new and niche then, when we first did it. So that gave me a whole lot more. We kind of grew that really big, won an award. But yeah.
It's been award winning.
I know. Well, the key is to just apply. That's the key. To just make sure you apply for all this stuff. So did that, but unfortunately that got hit in 2008 by the crash. So that kind of wiped that out. So then I went back to contracting, and then my mum died in just before the crash actually, which kind of like gave me the strength, because I thought, if I can go through losing my mum, which for me was one of the biggest life-changing experiences ever, right? If I can go through that, when it went to the business crashing in 2008, I was just like, I've already dealt with the worst thing that I'm going to deal with, then, I can deal with this, I can come through this. And then, so then I didn't have the new idea until Dad passed in 2014. It was about the year after 2015 when I got the idea for the new business. Decided to go for it.
So it's amazing how adversity actually turns out to be some of your best friends in terms of making those decisions that you would normally not make, because when you're in the comfort zone, you're not going to make those big decisions, are you?
No, I don't suppose so. You do kind of, just get through it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not suggesting now, biscuit tins in an early seed stage. We only kind of launched the MVP proposition in November.
That's minimum viable product for everybody.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
So we launched that. So we've kind of been in beta testing. So we've just also launched, we're offering, just to do our bit. I mean, we all need to do our bit at this kind of like, crazy time that we're in. So we're offering biscuit tin free just now. Obviously we need to educate the market on this stuff.
So tell everybody where they can find you, where they can get more information about you and everything like that.
Yeah, go to our website, www.biscuittin.co. We've also got .co.uk as well. So if you put the .uk on the end, that's fine. But our main site is our main kind of domain, if you like, is .co. So yeah, just go on there, have a look. If you want to ask any questions, just contact us or have a play around. I mean, it's completely free just now. you know, have a play around, get some, you know, have a think about this stuff, because it will make a difference to those you leave behind. You know, I don't want to leave my daughter with a whole load of mess that she's got to become private detective and, you know, and all that hassle when she's dealing with such, you know, such emotional distress. So yeah.
On that note, Sheila, thank you ever so much. Stay around, because we're going to be talking to Joe, and I'm sure Joe is going to be able to appreciate some of the wisdom you got to bring into this space as well. Hey Joe, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm fine, thank you. Fine. That was an amazing talk by Sheila, wasn't it?
It's just heartfelt, isn't it? I mean, you know, when the businesses are absolutely, by the way, Sheila, your mouth is moving, but you're on mute. So unmute yourself if you want to say something. But I mean, I find like when businesses come from the heart, teaming up nicely, then it just makes all the difference in the world. And I find as women, when women go into the business world, we're not happy unless we're all in, like physically, emotionally, mentally, in all different kinds of ways. We bring a lot of integrity into that space, and that's why sometimes the businesses develop a lot more slowly than guys' businesses, because guys tend to throw themselves in and go, right, let's get the funds, and if it crashes, it crashes, whereas women are a lot more cautious and they want to build from the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Sheila's business is a really brilliant example of a business with a soulful purpose behind it, and what better purpose to have than one that comes from your own experience of losing your parents. I just think it's amazing. I'm not going to cry.
Thank you, Joe. I often do cry when I'm talking about it, to be honest with you, and it's so long since, you know, so long now since I lost them, but it's still very.
Oh, it's absolutely. So I lost my dad a few years ago, and honestly, when you start talking about it, it could have been last week. Yeah. So what you're talking about and that business that you've created, to me, is so meaningful. I'm going to go straight onto your website.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
Because when my dad died, my mum had a lot of mess to clear up. My dad didn't really leave very much behind, but he also, he didn't have a will as such. And there were a lot of pieces to pick up, and my mum is still picking up the pieces. So thank you for that, Sheila, honestly.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
We've also got Fanny, who says, thank you, Sheila, something that would make a massive difference at the most horrible time. Best of luck as well. So,
thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
So Joe, tell us about yourself then. What's your story? What's your heartfelt story then?
So my business at the moment is the Crafty Kit Company. So I design and manufacture craft kits, which in the current climate are going down a storm. So it seems like everybody wants to do some crafting while they're stuck at home and or being safe at home, which is amazing for my business. It's booming, and I'm in a very peculiar situation. I really feel like we've never been as busy, but there's really only me and one other person working in the business at the moment. So we're kind of doing about 16 hours a day, continually picking and packing orders. It's absolutely incredible. The post office van is coming round. A couple of days ago, the post office van came round 3 times in one day because we filled the van each time. Literally. So let me tell you what's happened. I've packed so many orders that I've lost my fingerprint on this finger, so I can't turn on my phone. I have to put the code in again. My fingerprint's gone completely.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Well, it's amazing. I'm so grateful. Who would have thought, you know, that out of all of this could be this amazing thing.
I'm so successful. You've actually literally lost your fingerprint.
Exactly. My hands are a mess, honestly, but hey, it's worth it. It's all worth it.
And so so what would you call the kind of secret to your success? You know, it's not, I mean, there's lots and lots of different kind of crafty kit companies out there, but you've absolutely soared. What's the magic behind it all?
So I think that over the past 18 months, we have been developing a particular range of kits which really tap into the need that people have for a bit of me time and a bit of relaxation. I hesitate to call it therapy. You know, I make no medical claims, but crafting is relaxing anyway, but needle felting, which is our biggest selling range, is incredibly meditative, relaxing, therapeutic, easy. It's easy, and I think that is the key. It's a craft that anybody can do, and it's kind of addictive as well. So once you get going with it and you've made one thing, you know you want to just keep on making. Nothing else gets done. No housework gets done. The kids go hungry. So that's one reason why the business has become so successful. But I really think the main reason is the fact that we've put a purpose behind the business that wasn't there before.
In what way?
So I have run a business. I've run a craft business for 16 years. I set up a business in 2004 selling beads and jewellery. And at the time we had 2 bricks and mortar shops, and I was online as well. And we were very, very busy right from the off. It was a busy time for handmade jewellery. We made a lot of money, but I actually also lost a lot of money because I really didn't know how to run a business properly at that time. Coincidentally, at that time, my dad also became ill, and he died in 2006. Okay, so my dad, I need to tell you about my dad because there's a reason for this. Okay. So 2 weeks before I opened the bead shop, my dad tripped on a paving slab outside our home in East Linton. And he hit his head on the pavement. Now, a few months prior to that, he'd had open heart surgery, so he was taking warfarin. So he hit his head on the pavement, came in absolutely, covered in blood. And we were like, oh my goodness, Dad, you're so clumsy, And he cleaned himself up and he was okay. 2 weeks later, he fell into a coma and was taken to hospital, and had the surgeon said that they'd never removed such a massive subdural hematoma and had the patient live afterwards. So he was a bit of a miracle, but he lay in a coma for months. In the meantime, I had just opened my shop. My son was 6 months old. So it was all going on. We were going up to Astley Ainsley or the Western or wherever my dad was. We were going up there daily. And eventually my dad learned he had a tracheotomy and he was tube fed through his stomach. But as my son was learning to eat and walk and talk, my dad learned the same things alongside him. It was incredible.
Wow.
But the one thing that he never learned to do again, he never walked again, actually. He was in a wheelchair, and my dad was completely paralyzed down one side, and he was a watercolor artist, so he never painted again. So that whole 2 years was just a blur of ups and downs, and it was a really sad time in my life. But also I had Harry and I had the new business, so there was a lot going on there. Anyway, 2006, my dad died peacefully in his sleep. Okay, so fast forward to fairly recently, and through Action Coach, actually, I was introduced to an organization called B1G1. Now, B1G1 stands for Buy One, Give One. And I went along to an event that they were holding, and suddenly, having run this business, so the bead shop and then the crafty kit company, and having run this business for years with no real kind of purpose behind it other than just to make enough money to pay the bills, it was like this light bulb came on. I'm like, okay, this is the final part of the puzzle. This is the bit that's missing. Now I have a real reason, a real purpose for this business. We can actually start to give back through our business, through partnership with B1G1. So that's what we've been doing, excuse me, for the past 18 months through our partnership with B1G1. We've donated to global causes. So to give you an idea of the kind of things that we do, for every kit that we produce, we provide a day's worth of fresh drinking water for family in Ethiopia. During the time of the Australian fires, we donated to an Australian zoo that provided meals for koalas. For some of our kits, we provide the use of a sewing machine for a Bangladeshi woman so that she can run her own business from home.
Amazing.
So this is ongoing, and this has become the core of our business, if you like, and a real purpose behind it. But if I can just go back to just talking about my dad just for a moment, and this is why, you know, Sheila's story really moved me so much. Because a few months ago, I was contacted via LinkedIn by somebody who did not know who I was. He just knew that I created craft kits, and he contacted me and said, I think you could possibly help me and some other people. We are members of an organization called Headway. And would you be able to come and show us how to do some needle felting? Because I think it would be really good for the members. And I just went, oh my God, Headway. It's the organization that helps families and people who have acquired brain injury,
Wow.
which is what my dad had.
Wow.
And the light bulb that I got with the B1G1 thing was nothing compared to this. And I was like, this is what I was meant to do. Okay, this is it.
So do you find that, you know, if you go into business as a woman and you're just doing it for the profit of it, then your heart is feeling a little bit compromised? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and do you know what? It took me such a long time to realize that actually our purpose beyond profit, it just always felt like there was something missing. It was like, well, where's this going? I'm working all the hours. I'm kind of loving what I'm doing because it's a creative business. But where am I going with this? What is the actual point of this? And do you know what happened when we put that purpose behind the business and our purpose beyond profit? People like to buy from companies that stand for something more than just making money.
Yeah.
And it's reflected now in everything that we do. So because we have this core value, if you like, we can use that as the ruler to hold everything else up against.
Amazing.
So it reflects the people that I employ. It reflects the offers that we give out. It even reflects the kind of products that I create. So having that at its core has completely transformed our business.
Amazing, amazing. So tell everybody where they can find out more and get in touch with you and even try some of your amazing needles.
Okay, so we're online at craftykitcompany.co.uk. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. I'm Jo Lochhead on LinkedIn and Twitter, actually, although I'm not on Twitter very much, but yeah, all the usual places.
What's your favorite platform, by the way?
Well, actually, so that's an interesting one. So my favorite platform, I love Instagram, but my customers are on Facebook.
Interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, from a marketing point of view, I'm on Facebook, and for my personal one, I'm on Instagram. Oh, and Pinterest. I love Pinterest.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some Pinterest training soon, actually. Good. On that note, thank you so much, Jo. That's been absolutely fascinating and so in tune. I can't believe how well organized this She Means Business Scotland show is, because everybody today is talking about, you know, getting that meaningful purpose out and thinking about, you know, what is your legacy when all is said and done. So on that note, let's bring in Rachel. Hey, Rachel, how are you doing? Unmute yourself, please.
There we go. I'm on. Hello.
How are you doing? Nice to see you.
I'm really good. Jo, I heard you mention East Linton. I actually can't. Are you the shop on the high street? You are?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Oh my goodness, I live just down the road.
And you know what? I completely recognise you.
Yeah, I must walk past your shop every day. I didn't realise I hadn't linked up your shop to your online stuff that you were talking about. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. A small world.
It's a small world. And we've also got Janie in the comments saying, brilliant, thanks, Joe. Sits with me very closely. I'm going to order a wee robin for my mom. She's missing my dad so much at the moment. Thank you.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, Jeannie.
Amazing. All right, so Rachel, tell us about yourself then. What's making you tick at the moment during this crazy period that we're living through?
Oh, this crazy time. Well, I've just been trying to keep myself sane with my preschooler and toddler running around the house. So my business, Traprine financial planning, and specialise mostly in retirement planning, investment planning, and then looking at that kind of sugary foundations and making sure your protection and insurance is all in place. This is kind of personal insurance to make sure that we're building the right plan around that. It's difficult in this climate, obviously. It's a very face-to-face personal business. So I'm just trying to, upload some videos and just tips and bits and bobs here or there onto I've got Facebook and LinkedIn and all the usual kind of platforms, and hopefully trying to just get the message across and keep people ticking over. It's essentially, while we've all got kind of time at the moment, my thought was that perhaps it's a good time to reassess kind of where we are financially, and just taking a look at some of those bank statements. I like to get a highlighter out and have a look at my kind of essential expenditure, and then some of the fun stuff that we have on the side. And your essential stuff's really the stuff you need to keep your kind of house over your head, so your mortgage and council tax and bills and all the usual bits and bobs. And then your fun stuff is where you might get a little bit of a shock. I think we all underestimate, certainly I know I do with my Amazon habit, how much we're actually spending. We don't really think about it too much because it's too easy with that, clicking your phone against the payment tab now, and all these new technological ways of paying for things where you're not physically handing over cash, so all too easily sort of witters away without you noticing it. So really just getting a handle on that.
So you're quite new in the whole kind of business environment. How are you finding that transition from being an employee to actually running your own show, basically?
Well, my boss is great now. I quit my job in employment. So I was a lawyer for about 13 years, and quit around this time last year actually, and spent the last year building up to launching this financial planning business in December. I just find it as so free. When I was a lawyer, I was sitting behind my desk 13-hour days, 14-hour days. There was no flexibility there. And essentially what I found was, after the birth of my second child, that I was having to take junior roles to make sure I could work around the hours I needed to do nursery pickups and drop off and spend the time with my children that I wanted to spend. And I just got to the point and had a bit of a sort of emotional breakdown with my husband about all the years I'd spent training to get to where I was, and then I felt like there wasn't really anywhere for me to go. And that was really difficult because you invest so much time into your studying, and a lot of money as well to go through university, and then to come out the other side and feel like you end up with no options. So that was really, for me, the birth of my second child was a catalyst to really start reassessing what was I trying to achieve. I wanted to be a mum, but I felt like I had more to give, and I had lots of ideas. I just didn't have a forum or a platform to get my ideas out there. So that was when I was like, right, I'm going to quit. and I've always dabbled in the sort of financial, not the financial advice obviously, because I wasn't advising anyone, just in my own personal capacity, dabbling in investments and things like that. And it was one of those sort of like, oh, why don't I turn a bit of hobby into something a bit more formal? And I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before, to be honest. It's one of those things that, I wish I'd done it years ago, to be honest.
It's interesting, isn't it, that, the levels of women succeeding in the professions are more challenging than in other sectors. So women who work in the legal sector or in accountancy or in business management and things like that, they tend to, as a percentage, do less well than in other sectors, because the demands of the job are literally, as you say, 13, 14 hours. I also did a law degree, And I recognized that around me, people were being told, who are, newly graduated, you got to choose. You either have the babies or you just have the career. It's up to you. But basically, you won't be supported at all if you have babies. It's you get on with it, and you see how to finish, basically. And here is me starting my law degree with 2 babies. I had a third one in the summer holidays between second and third year, and then my 4th one just after my finals. So I was just like, oh dear, I'm obviously not destined for a career in law, because obviously I'm not the type of person that they want to be able to recruit at all.
It's so hard, and there was other issues as well, and I felt that the whole structure of the way that I went in private practice, charging every few minutes of your time, and there was a huge disconnect between you and the clients. And even when I was working in-house, the relationships were all held on the commercial side, and the lawyers were kind of like, oh, we don't talk to lawyers, they just cause problems. So I'm quite a people person. I like talking to people. I just like getting to know people, and it just didn't really sit, like, as a whole sort of career choice. It probably, looking in hindsight, maybe wasn't the best for me. I needed to get out there and start actually speaking to real people and feel like I was making an actual difference to somebody's life, because it comes back to what the other ladies were saying about you have to have something that has a purpose, otherwise it's just soulless. And I just felt like there was no reason to what I was doing, and I wanted to come home at night and feel like I'd actually done something good in the world, for somebody.
So how are you finding it? Sorry, Gary, go ahead, Sheila.
I was just going to say, and then the world wonders why we don't have gender diversity on boards and executives, etc., and why there's still, that most of these professions are still kind of like male dominated environments, and the only way that we're ever going to get out of that, my thoughts are, because it's the same in, when I were contracting, I were in financial services, and I decided early on, I don't want to play these games. I don't want to be involved in these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how long you sit at your desk. It's not about that. But yeah, I think the only way that we can do it is actually create a different type of, like we're doing, a different type of business for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything I do now, the core of, it is financial advice that I do, but I have I've got a much more deeper insight, I think, certainly in comparison to the financial advisors I met when I was seeking advice when I was younger. Like, so for me, your wealth is your loved ones and your health and your lifestyle. So all of the conversations I'm having with clients are, that is the core. Those are the important aspects of life, and let's work out a plan around those, rather than let's just give you a financial plan because that's what I do. It's far more in depth for the actual person. I almost feel like I'm aligning it more to like a life coach scenario rather than necessarily financial planning, because otherwise what's the point? People, you have to connect with who you're talking to, and they have to understand why they're doing things as well, because it's a bit like yourself, Sheila. It's difficult topics I'm discussing with people. So for clients, I'm asking, the questions I tend to put to them in the first time I've met them are things like, what do you do if you get sick? How are you going to earn an income? What do you do if you die? What's going to happen to your family? What's going to happen to your mortgage? What are you going to do if you live too long? Which is a rather funny conundrum that we have these days, and that we're all apparently going to live to we're 100, and it's financing that retirement that's going to be the same length of time as your whole working career. And most people haven't thought about that at all, and are in no way prepared for it. So it's really, they're difficult conversations, and people don't, it's back to that concept of humans don't like to think of themselves as being old or vulnerable, and they don't like having to open up their mind to that possibility and having to plan for it, because they just like to think it's never going to happen to them.
I still can't believe I am to survive past 29, honest to God. I don't know why I'm still here. So what are your top tips basically for planning for the long term, planning for all kinds of adversities and things that could be happening?
Yeah, well, it's really, so I call it financial well-being, and there's kind of
in 60 seconds.
Oh, okay. So there's 4 answers. So just ask yourself those questions I've just said, which is, what's going to happen if you're sick? What's going to happen if you die? What's going to happen if you live too long? And what's going to happen or how are you going to meet those financial goals you have in the 5, 10, 15-year timescale? Have a look at those bank statements. Where's the money going? Really get a handle on that. And those pension plans that are sitting in a drawer gathering dust, take them out, have a look at them, get an understanding of what's going on, and then seek advice where you need to on those kind of topics. How do I fill those gaps? Where do I need to be going with this? I want to do that in 5 years' time. I want to do that in 10 years' time. How do I get there? It's just a case of sitting down and putting in the time. It's kind of personal development in the same way we do in all other aspects of our life. It's just that with finances, we all like to just go, it's not happening, and pretend that it's suddenly magically going to all be okay.
You know, Rachel, I think you're just such a lovely, trustworthy person. I think, you know, you're going to get a lot of business, particularly from women, because of the fact that you are coming from the same place as all other women are coming from. And we can feel that, and that resonates with everybody. So tell us how everybody can get in contact with you to have a quick chat. Do you have a kind of 30-minute free chat, or what's the...
Yeah, so well, a full financial review with me is completely free of charge. So we'll go through your entire current financial situation and your future hopes, dreams and goals, do a bit of a life plan. Then what happens is I go away and sort of put together a solution for you, and then present that solution to you. And then only at that point do you have to make any decisions, and you'll be presented with any costs and charges and anything involved, and what you can expect going forward from there. So making that first step is really easy, because it's just a case of giving me a call. Or I've got my website, www.traprain.financial.co.uk. So TRAPRAIN, bit of a mouthful. And also my Facebook page as well. So just get in touch with me and there, and we can set something up over Zoom.
Yeah, you've been an absolute star. Thank you ever so much. It's been really, really insightful. And it's wonderful how all the topics have been sewn together so seamlessly, that the themes have been coming out so beautifully. So on that note, I'd like to thank my guest today, Rachel Stewart of Traprain, Sheila Hogan of biscuit.co, and the beautiful Jo Lockhead of the Crafty Kit Company. Next week, for your delectation, we have the insanely amazing Liz Hoskin, who's going to be talking about how to bring out your inner happy. We've got the beautiful Cheryl Newman talking about the inefficiencies in your business and upskilling your team with Office 365, which I believe is about to be renamed. And then we've got the amazing Liz Melville, who's the big Facebook expert in Scotland, who also, same as myself, works with the clients all around the world. And she's going to be talking about marketing your business in uncertain times without feeling like a total sleazebag. So
sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. She's absolutely incredible, a world-class Facebook expert, and I don't say that lightly, speaking as a Facebook expert myself. All right, so on that note, thank you ever so much to everybody, all my guests. Please come back next week and join us with our new guests. And remember, the format is 3 weeks. We have inspirational guests for you to ask all kinds of questions to. And then on the 4th week, we have a training workshop session to do with social media. So please tune in every single week and use the Facebook group as well as a resource to build your business, or ask for help, or ask for any kind of brainstorming suggestions you need and everything like that. So on that note, that's been me, Finn Wycherley of Supersize Media, and on behalf of all the guests on the She Means Business Scotland show, see you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.